So in today's video, we're going to review the offset function. I'm going to show you how it works. We're going to explore a little bit what works and what doesn't, and yeah, get to know this function a little bit better. So let's get started. So for this demonstration, we're going to use the 25 days of DAX Fridays dataset. I know that some of you guys used offset functions quite a lot already then. So it is a perfect opportunity to review them using this data set. So for day 3, I'm going to post a link down below to 25 days of DAX Fridays in case you don't know what it is. But for this offset function, what we're going to go through is question for day 3, which was the longest gap between tournaments. So if you remember, we had a tournaments table. So this is the number of times that the World Cup has been played and which year it played. And we want to know what it was the longest time, time between years. So what we basically needed to do was to get the year column, promote it, and get the 1934 up here, and then do this minus that. So there were a lot of ways to do it. I'll show you how to do it with a calculated column. You can see it here. This is just one minus the other. And then you could do it also by wrapping the calculated column into a virtual table. Just check the video if you're not sure. So we're gonna create a new measure. I have here the year column from the tournaments table. And then we're going to do the offset calculation. So we're going to do question 3. I have quite a few of those, so let me call it something like 5. And then I'm going to do calculate. We want to calculate the max of the tournament year. Tournament year. And now we're going to use the offset function to offset the row 1 up. Let's go through the documentation first. So this is how the offset function works. It requires a number that it would tell how many positions up or down on your table it wants to go. It will make more sense once we see an example. This is a table that we want to do the offset on. You can disregard these, but then you need to specify order by or partition by. And it says if you just put relation and if you don't put order by or partition by, then the order of the relation will be taken. Here order by is if you want a specific or a different order of what you have already on your table. Here blanks, for now you just need to use keep because there are no other options. And then for partition by is the same thing. If you omit it, if you don't write anything, it will take the whole table as one partition. So there will be no partitions basically. So this is what we need to create. And we're going back to Power BI and do the example so you understand better what all this means. Okay, so we start with offset. Make sure that you have the, I think, December version because otherwise it won't work. Now you have to tell how many positions you want to go up and down. I want to go -1. So I want to put 1934 here, 1938 there. So I want to go -1. So now we need to put the table we want to do the calculation on. So we're going to summarize. Summarize all selected. And then we're going to put tournaments because that's the table that we want to work on. And tournaments year. And I shouldn't have to put anything else. This should work according to the documentation. Let's see if it does. So as you can see, it moved the years 1 up. That was exactly what we want. And you can put this 1 up, you can put it 1 down, you can put it 2 up, 2 down. It's up to you what you need. So you need to decide first what you want, and then you just specify it here, right? So I thought, oh, how neat. I have now both columns. I'm going to subtract the max of the tournament year. Tournament year. And then once I have these, I can do the max. You can't, but well, let's try to do the max first. Okay, so now that we had here, I thought, oh, I do the max of the new measure, and then we're good to go. I've showed you how to do max of a measure before. So you do that is gap, and then you do return, and then you do max. This is fairly similar to what we had before. So this is the tournament table, and our measure is the gap, and you know, you put it in there and you get a 0, which I should have seen, because you know it says 0 here, so whatever you get here is what you're going to get here. And yeah, this is the problem of, you know, you might you might expect to get the max because you're telling the max of these, but yeah, the grand totals always have different ideas of what to return. So yeah, no, you're not going to get that. So this is not the correct approach to do this calculation. I just wanted to show you, you know, knowing what not to do is often as useful or even more than knowing what to do. So we need to do it differently. We need to create a virtual table the same way as we were going before and wrap it up. So let's do that instead. Okay, so let's create the virtual table. You go to new table in there, and then we're going to do add columns, and then we're going to do the values of tournament year. Let's see where they are. There you have it. And then I'm going to show you what that does. Nothing, obviously, because the add columns needs another one, which is going to be our gap. So this piece here, it actually adds, you know, the years of the tournament, and then you need to have obviously a new column that does something else. That's what add columns function does. And here on the gap is where we're going to put our offset column. So we're going to do the same thing that we did before. So it's offset plus 1. And then we're going to put the table that we want to do the calculation on, which is summarized, all selected from the tournaments table. And then we put the tournaments year again. And what else I'm missing? I think that should do it. Yeah, so as you can see, is promoting the column up here. So now what you want to do is to subtract this column by this column. So we're going to do it in here. You don't want to subtract to that. You want to subtract in after, you know, the offset function. So here you do tournaments here. And here you get the exact same thing. The difference is that this is a table that you can manipulate. So you have it, you know, it's not a measure anymore, it's a table. So I don't bother about this because it's always going to be a negative number. So the max is always going to be the biggest gap. So that's fine. So now we go back to the previous measure. This is not going to be a measure, this is going to be a table now. So you need to get rid of that. I'm not sure it's a good idea that both are called gap. This is table gap. And then here you put table gap. And in here you put, and here you pick the column gap. And it gives us 12, which is exactly what we wanted. Again, it will never come to a point, it's always going to be a negative number, so this is fine. But if you, for whatever reason, would like to get rid of this 2018, then you need to do a little bit more stuff in here. One of the things that you can do is as follows. So you could do like, so you need to do if this column is, so if you remember before we subtracted the tournament here, let me do it again. This was a blank, right? So let's add it back, tournament year. So we need to say that if this gap is blank, then leave it blank, otherwise do this subtraction. So you could actually go here and do if is blank, and but then you will have to repeat this a few times, and that's not a very efficient way to do it. So you can create a variable here that is previous year, for example, and that is going to contain the offset function, and then we're going to do return, and then you're going to do the if statement here. So if is blank the previous year, then blank, otherwise do previous year the variable minus tournament, and then this is going to be blank. And now you can grab this table and put it into the calculation. You don't need to do it, but I show you in case that you would need to manipulate this stuff, so you know how to do it. Okay, so yeah, this is everything for offset. We will talk about index and windows on next videos. See you then. Bye.